Welcome to Awake. My name is Jevon, and today I have Tina Howard, the lovely Tina Howard. So, it's so wonderful to see your face because we engage a lot digitally. But like we were saying, I get a face and a voice.
Yeah, this is a totally different kind of interaction.
It's such a great treat. So,
Yeah.
Tina, you are a soul contract reading practitioner. You are a divine healing practitioner. You are a fabulous licensed massage therapist, which world renowned from what I hear. From what I hear, and you are out there doing your best to bring healing and abundance and all kinds of good stuff. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So what I'd like to know, the focus of today and these interviews that I've been doing is finding guides that point the way. And what is the way that I'm even referring to? Well, the way is to be awake, to see past this cloudy veil that keeps people suffering without even a purpose for it. And there's beautiful people out there like you that are helping. So if you would, what does awake mean to you?
In my own life, awake has become being aware of who I am truly. My path of awakening started when I decided I didn't want to be a victim anymore. I was stuck in victimhood for a long time.
Yeah.
And I thought I had to be a victim. I didn't realize that I had the power to make choices that would lead to healthy living versus being a victim of my circumstances and my choices.
So like finding all the reasons why you couldn't have what you wanted or weren't who you wanted to be, you thought was helpful for you.
I really did. I kept myself in unhealthy behaviors and patterns for a long time. And I got to the point where I wanted to understand why I had done that.
Well, what'd you find out?
Well, I found out that I needed some serious counseling. So I started some individual counseling and I went into some group counseling, and I just really started to dive into who is Tina. And in that process, I decided I was going to take a break one day. Spirit had other ideas. So I decided I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to stop looking at me right now, and I'm just going to watch some TV. So I got on Gaia and I started browsing through Gaia. What am I going to watch? And I found a show that was an interview with a man who has written a book called Your Soul Contract Decoded. And it was about relationships. And since I had kept myself in an unhealthy relationship, and all my relationships had been unhealthy at that point in time in my life, but I really kept myself in a really toxic relationship for about 8 years. And I was in that trying to figure out why stage. So I said, oh, okay, let me watch this show on soul contracts and relationships, because number one, the phrase soul contracts was like you want to know that. And then how it related to relationships. Well, that's what I'm looking at myself right now, is my relationship and why.
So you had some sort of internal alert that
Yeah.
you recognized, like, oh, now had you been familiar with that kind of thing going on with yourself? Like you were familiar with whatever happened on the inside that you would normally stop when that happened to you, or
No,
a new experience?
no. Well, it used to be normal for me, but during the course of that long relationship, the 8.5 year relationship, so often when I would lean on my intuition, he would tell me you're wrong. And so I like turned that part of myself off because I felt like I couldn't trust it, because I felt like I was wrong. So coming out of that relationship, I started to started to tune into that awareness again. And I say that because that was 2 years ago, and I had to really pay attention to know when my intuition was telling me something. But in this particular instance, this particular day, that title I knew was something I needed to watch. And so I did. And that watching the show led me to look up the book on Amazon. It's a bestseller on Amazon. And then reading the book led me to requesting to be on his newsletter at his website.
Mm-hmm.
And the first newsletter that came was advertising for a class where you could learn to be a reader of other people's soul contracts.
Soul contract.
And so I went into that thinking, well, this is perfect. I'll be able to understand mine. Like I got it reading the book, but I knew that I could get it in a deeper way if I took a class, because that's who I am. I like classes.
Yeah.
So I signed up for the class, and by the time I was finished with it, I was like, aha, there are certain numbers in my contract that made so much sense for what I'd experienced in my life up to that point. Mm-hmm. And that led me to, because the author of that book is the teacher of Soul Contract Reading Practitioner training.
Yeah.
And he also teaches something called divine healing.
Okay.
So you learn what your ego programs are by learning what your soul contract is. And then you learn how to release those karmic programs using divine healing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. So for me, Awake has been bringing awareness to my crap and clearing it out, which is an ongoing process. Like I'm not done, but
now,
I'm a little further along.
Have you found, because this is something that I've been noticing, that awareness of itself has a healing and expanding nature to it. Like you haven't done anything different necessarily, but once you have an awareness of your own rackets, your own programs, your own, like you were talking about earlier, your own victimhood.
Yeah.
But you're aware of it, there's like this natural healing process that just starts all on its own. I
agree. The awareness brings about another level of awareness. I can choose differently.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that. So how does soul contract and divine healing separately together? I mean, how does that work?
Well, okay. So soul contract, there are different forms of soul contracts out there. What I'm referring to are the...
how about before we go in there, because I think this is important. What does that even mean? So let's go back and go macro here and tell me what a soul contract is, because
that's what I was about to do.
Okay. Thank you.
A soul contract is the idea that within the sounds of your name, because sound is creative, I will give you a really quick biblical reference to sound being creative. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. So, in the sounds of your name are embedded, encoded certain aspects of your life that you want to experience. It is based on the idea that reincarnation is real. And so in this lifetime, your goal, your soul has multiple goals in order to grow. And it's all about the idea that we're all fractals of source. And so source wants to experience everything that it can. And so, and to grow. So in the sound of the name, you have certain physical experiences and personality traits that are going to be what you experience here in this lifetime. And the physical portion of your chart, and this will make more sense when we like look at your chart, but the physical portion of your chart.
We're gonna do a little bit of me, right, today?
The physical portion of your chart is what happens early life, and that's like grounding you into the earth plane, It is setting up challenges for you to work through, so that when you get to the second part of the chart, which is the spiritual part, that's what you really do. That's the important stuff that you've come to accomplish. But there are things that have to be put in place as a foundation, and that happens in the first half of life. And each portion of the chart, there are karmic aspects. These are the challenges that you've come to overcome. There are talent aspects, and the talents help you to overcome the challenges. And then there's a goal aspect, and the goal is what drives you in this lifetime to serve humanity. And so there's a physical part of that and a spiritual part of that, and all of those little aspects are in each of those triangles. And then all of that culminates in your soul destiny. That age-old philosophical question, what is the meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
Has an answer for each individual, and that's encoded in your name.
That's fantastic. So you're going to tell me today.
I can tell you today what you're here to do. Yes. It's actually really interesting. Your name, as long as I've spelled everything correctly, your name was very revealing and fits in perfectly with my perception of who you are.
All right. So let me dig in a little bit about this, because it's very fascinating here. A reincarnation, meaning that this life is happens over and over again. Like we die and then we get a chance to do it again for whatever particular purpose. And there's an in-between place between those lives. And that's where we as sentient entities, aware entities, we choose, or at least agree to programming or contract to the next go around, so that we can learn in particular lessons. Is that right?
You have summed it up beautifully. Yes.
All right. Awesome. I'm getting into this. So
Good.
we get this contract, soul contract, from our meeting that we have. And I'm sure there's other people, right, that are in on the contract.
This process. Yes.
Right? So I've heard, I've heard that basically the people close to us, we've been with most likely for many lifetimes. They're
Yes, that's
part
what
of the
I've heard as
crew.
well. And that's a different kind of soul contract. You have contracts with specific souls too, where I love you so much that I'm going to put you through a lot of hell in this next lifetime in order for you to grow because I love you that much. That's a different kind of soul contract.
Yeah. Have you ever read The Little Soul in the Sun, Neil Donald Walsh?
I have
It's a
not.
kid's book. I have it for my kids, and it's so beautiful. It's this little soul that discovers that he asked God that he wants to experience forgiveness. He's like, I want to experience forgiveness. This would be so great. And God said, you can't. I'm sorry. There's nothing to forgive. He's like, oh, is this what sadness feels like? I'm so sad, maybe. And then another soul comes up and says, I'll help you experience forgiveness because I love you. And he's like, okay, great. What do we do? It's like, well, we're going to go to Earth and we're going to forget. And I'm going to be really dark and I want to give you things to forgive. And the soul says, okay. And then the dark soul, or the angel that said that they're going to submit themselves to be dark, said, but you have to promise to remind me who I am. You have to promise, because I can get lost in that for a while unless you promise.
Right.
Okay, I'll remind you. And then God said, I'll only send you angels. That's all that will ever come to greet you. It's a really sweet book.
I like the idea behind this book.
Yeah, very sweet. I read it to my kids and they're like, what about the trucks? I'm like, okay, maybe we're not there yet.
Right. How old are they?
3 and 5, but
Oh, yeah.
we're
They've
getting
got
there.
some time to get into that. Oh, fire trucks, Dad. It's about fire right now.
That's right.
Dump
Duh.
Mac truck.
All right, so we got the meeting, we got the contract. Now the name. So the name itself, the vibration of our name, the sound, has programming in it, and so it's important the names we pick. So how do our parents, most of which are oblivious right? How, the majority of the world has no idea that this is going on. How in the world do parents pick a name that we chose to, right? To our plan.
Yes, right, right. So what I have been taught is that it is a telepathic whisper from your soul to your parents before you're actually born. And in some cases, as you're born, because some people wait to name their children until right as it's happening.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the parents get it right. Every once in a while, they don't. But what I've been told, what I've been taught by my teacher is that your soul whispered it to your parents, and that's how you came to be who you are, so that you would have the proper programming. Mm-hmm. And I think this is important to note too. According to my teacher, we choose the family that we're going to be born into, not so that we experience perfect love, but so that we experience what we need to experience in order to grow our soul, in order for the programming that we've chosen to play out.
That makes sense. So we didn't come to earth to go to heaven. We're already in heaven.
Right.
Came to earth to learn stuff.
Yeah.
To go to school.
Yeah.
Wow. So what happens when the instances where the parent gets it wrong? Is there some corrective measures that can happen? I mean,
yes and no. Your birth name always runs no matter what. The energies of your birth name cannot be replaced. They can be assisted though. You can go through a process that I'm going to call name optimization. I've heard it called name alchemy. There are different ways to call what I'm about to talk about, but you could change your name. And if you didn't want to be called something else, you could change the spelling of your name to affect new energies that help some of the more difficult energies of your birth name.
Mm-hmm. But it's the sound, right? Not necessarily the spelling that matters.
It is, well, that's yes and no. So different letters carry with them different energies. So in some instances, A's and E's in the English language sound the same, but they carry two separate energies. And so the sound may still be the same, but because of the spelling and because that's what goes out into the matrix, then it therefore affects the matrix.
Got it. So why is this important for somebody to become aware of?
That's a good question. For me, it was life-changing. Again, I wanted to understand why I had kept myself in destruction, self-destruction, and in toxic relationship. So for me, it revealed to me why. For other people that have been on the receiving end of hearing about themselves, it has empowered them to make different choices so that they're living their idea of a better life. So I guess the importance comes down to, again, awareness. The more you are aware of your programming, the more you're able to make healthier choices. If your programs have been running your choices.
Yeah, you can be more intentional about what you're up to instead of accidentally doing things right or wrong all the time.
Yes.
All right. Well, you want to use me as an example of this?
I will be happy to. I am going to share my screen.
All right.
Okay, you need to share my screen.
Let's see. How do I give you the screen?
I think that if you click on the 3 ellipses in my little box where my face is, I think then it will come up as an option.
Make host. You are now the host.
All right, now I should be able to share my screen. Perfect. Oh, but wait, I have to, hold on.
And
Get it?
the originator of that system is Nicholas Wynne.
Nicholas David Nan. Actually, he's not the originator. A man named Frank Alper taught Nicholas, but Frank has since passed.
Okay.
So he took Frank's research, and it was a download to Frank from Moses, like the Moses from the Bible, that Moses.
The real
This
life
is a system,
Moses.
right? So there's within the Hebrew mysticism is something called Gematria. And Gematria, the idea with Gematria is that it is very similar, that there are certain secrets within words and numbers. And so this was originally called the numerology of Moses. It is a form of numerology, but it's not your typical numerology.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Yeah.
Going to go here.
If you've ever heard of the law of one,
I have.
it talks about how Hebrew and Sanskrit, Sanskrit in particular, but Hebrew also, the sounds of the words are directly related to original creation.
Yes. My understanding is that there were 5 original languages. Hebrew and Sanskrit are 2 of them. I don't remember what the other ones are. I'll be honest with you. Those are the ones that stuck out in my own mind.
Yeah. All right.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. That's me.
Yes. Have I spelled your name correctly?
Looks perfect.
Okay. So I'm going to get out a little drawing tool. So, like I said before we started recording, I'm not going to give you your entire soul contract reading because that would take a couple of hours at least.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to point out are a couple of different things, and then we'll get into your numbers. So I mentioned earlier there are 2 aspects: the physical aspect of the chart with its own 3 aspects.
Very fancy.
So here you've got the karmic aspect, you've got the talent aspect, and you've got the goal aspect. So again, the karmic aspects are those things that you're here to be challenged by and to overcome. When you overcome the karma, it actually becomes a talent. Mm-hmm. And so the talent here, it helps you to overcome the karma. Mm-hmm. And then also get into what the goal is, which is what you're here to do to serve humanity. So
and
we've got,
for definition's sake, karma is just the random actions that happen because of the programming that we set in motion. Is that
right? Right. It carries with it. Yes, it carries with it specific experiential patterns as well as personality patterns.
Okay.
And then you've got the spiritual aspect of your chart, which is this with its own set of karmic, talent, and goals. And this is what I was talking about with your soul destiny or your life purpose. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to tell you that yours, this is really easy to tell you, yours is to take this triangle that is currently highlighted as talents and ground it into the earth plane and relate your spiritual talents into society.
So relating spiritual talents into society, like relating, communicating.
Yes. This, I'm going to do more than I was. 7 is about bringing spiritual download knowledge into the earth plane. Whoa. And communicating it.
I receive.
Yeah, so the fact that you write books makes perfect sense because if you notice, you've got this over here too. Mm-hmm. Wow. This is the 9-9 here. Mm-hmm. Is the power of God incarnate. And it's in a talent position. That means you are a manifesting God. Ooh. So the power of God incarnate, the power of God is creation. It is love. Mm-hmm. It is, I am invincible. that is you. When this is acting as a talent, because they all karmic aspects to them initially.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're really in your healthy power, it helps you to download the downloads in order
Mm-hmm.
to communicate them. And
Yeah.
then this 13-4 is Christ consciousness. It is unconditional love.
Oh.
And that is your goal here, in your spiritual aspect, is to become wise and to share that wisdom.
Mm. Love this.
So
This is so
yeah.
wonderful.
And there's so much more information. I'm really giving you the highlights.
Yeah. Now I'm assuming each one of these they have a uh, integrated and unintegrated side of them, correct? Like if I'm
That
not
is
learning my lessons, well, here's all the crap that
right.
comes up to get your attention.
Yes,
If
that's
you
right.
are, well, here is it in effect when it's working. Is that similar?
I think of that as the way that I communicate what you're saying is that each number carries a karmic weight to it. You have to work through the karma or the challenge of it before you step into the talent or the integrated aspect. So unintegrated would be the karmic aspect of the number manifesting and expressing itself. And the integrated aspect would be when it becomes a talent and manifests in all the positive attributes.
Yeah. Because my I, personally, as someone who like I get spiritual principles and I think I'm able to communicate them well, and my that same thing that wants me to engage with humans also wants their approval as well. And so when I'm really focused on getting approval from the masses, especially with social media, right? It's like, not like, whatever it
Right.
is. Well, that actually derails me sometimes from the very thing that I intended wanted to do. Like, well, I don't know if I can put this out there because it's going to look bad, because, whatever my more dogmatic, fundamental crew is going to reject me because of, and I'll totally,
Yes.
the very same thing will derail me, even though it could be absolutely beautiful if I did not resist it and allowed what God or what I chose to do.
Mm-hmm. You're speaking my language. When I first learned this methodology, I had been immersed in the Christian culture, and I was like, my Christian friends are gonna be like, you are doing the devil's work.
Yeah.
And I'm past that now. I
Awesome.
mean, truth is truth.
Yeah.
That's, and it was true for me. My contract was truth.
Yeah. And especially for me, especially with Christianity, my personal place with Jesus, right? Or to use the Hebrew, which I really like, the um, Yehoshua. I love that. Just the healing power of, and to me, it gives me a whole new connection, and I feel unburdened with Jesus, with Yehoshua, even though, I mean, Jesus for sure. If I have, Jesus is my savior, someone could say that, I say yes, absolutely, me too. That's like all the normal Christian stuff I had growing up. I feel like I believe more now than I did before.
Nice.
That's
That's not
just,
a bad thing.
it's contextually, right? It's context. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that there are people that are going to be in and people that are going to be out? No. It's like, okay, well, I guess the hell concept is out. It's like everything just means different things at this point than it did before.
Right. There's a deeper level of meaning now.
Yeah, or deeper. That's a better way to put it. There's a much
Yeah,
more.
for me, that's how it's presented. My spiritual walk now actually gives a deeper insight into my Christian walk before.
That's right. So you're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. You're like, oh, this is what it meant. I get it. Okay,
Right.
got it. Well, wonderful.
So do you mind if I talk about you some more?
Yeah, please. I
Okay, I'm gonna focus in on all these fours, because when you have a number repeat itself a lot in your chart, this is something your soul really wants you to like get in this lifetime. So and this number two is a perfect demonstration to do, because it's got a karmic aspect, it's got a talent aspect, and it's got a goal aspect. And we kind of already talked about some of the other numbers, so I want to talk about this one a little bit more.
Great.
Your four in the karmic aspect. So the karmic aspect, again, is when it's not performing in your life in a well integrated manner. So in the unintegrated, or in the karmic / challenge area of life, a four often feels like there is never enough. There's never enough money. There's never enough food. There's never enough to get the dream car, to get the dream wife, to have the dream house. There's not enough love to go around. And for some reason, this is acting karmically. For some reason, there's never enough, because I am inherently bad. Mm-hmm. On some level, I am so bad that God doesn't love me enough to provide for me. Mm-hmm. So in this case, for you specifically, this is also in the talent position. So the slightly different slant with the four and a talent position is that there's always enough. I just assume there's always enough. Mm-hmm. Now it starts out, there's not. All of them start out karmically. Mm-hmm. But we get to a place in life where we recognize, even if it shows up last minute or late, there's enough. Mm-hmm. The four is challenged to develop enough self-confidence to know that they're not bad, mm-hmm. and that God will always provide. The symbol for the four is this. And so what this is the inflow of God. And this is your cup. And God always provides more than enough, so it and then you share it, and it gets replaced, and there's more to share. Part of the talent of the four is the sharing of self. Children force us to share ourselves.
That's true. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's for sure. I completely resonate with that as well. If you ever heard of the Enneagram, that
yes, assessment? I'm not super familiar with it, but I have heard of it. Yes.
So there's on the Enneagram, I'm a 3, which is a performer, and the bottom of the 3 performs for love, because mm-hmm. they learned that they have to, and the 3 gets really good at performing. So I have that skill set where I can get very good at performing. But the thing that the 3 is always performing is because of a self-hatred, or at least the belief of worthlessness.
Yes.
And so never enough, for sure. I can relate that, because it's a fear, it's a scarcity that I didn't do enough.
Right.
But then the other side of it, with complete surrender, mm-hmm. is abundance.
Yeah. It's a mindset change, and with that mindset change, your external circumstances change too. That's been my experience anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But then it ties into the other thing too of it seems like that from the karmic place to the abundance place, I'm using the wrong words, maybe karmic to talents, mm-hmm. is there for me. It's always been a form of death that has happened, a form of complete surrender unto, like, that thing, laying it down as like an offering. Like, I'm going to lay down this perfect image I've built for so long, and all are going to see that it's different. And now they're going to, if they reject my image, which is perfectly crafted, then it's not that big a deal, because I've created that image on purpose. And you reject it, it's fine. I'm using it for something in particular anyway, so I'm moving on. But if you reject the thing that I resonate with completely, it's painful. So it's a risk. It's a super big risk.
Yes.
But at the same time, even when I have gotten rejected, because I have risked and got rejected, it's actually not that bad. It was always the fear of being rejected that was way worse than
Yes,
the
I know
rejection.
exactly what you mean. I have,
And I'm in the process right now. Like even as I'm talking right now, I'm like, be careful. Okay.
I know what you mean there too. Oh goodness. I was gonna say, oh, you mentioned about the 3 in the Enneagram being an achiever, right?
Yeah.
That is an aspect of the 4 as well. The 4 is really driven to achieve, in part because they feel like they're not worthy to receive the not, whatever it is. They're not worthy to receive. They're not worthy to receive money. They're not worthy to receive the things that they desire in their hearts. That underlying, I'm just not worthy. This is why it's so important to nurture and cultivate self-confidence so that you can feel worthy to even achieve whatever the goal is. And so I just want those two, they tied in, they felt like they tied in together. So I wanted to mention that because again, I'm giving you the abbreviated version of what your contract is. So
Yeah.
that keyword achiever, I was like, oh yeah, that's right here too.
That's right.
This 4 up here and the goal, the what drives you to serve humanity, that 4 is all about sharing of yourself, taking all the culminated wisdom that you've gathered, your money, your knowledge, your self love, and just emanating it into society, radiating. And because this is a 13-4 and it's unconditional love, it is about radiating that unconditional love outward. This number, I'm just going to put this out there, is also an incredible money earner. It's very business oriented. It has the potential to make a lot of money.
I'll receive all of it.
Right. I mean, you've got 5 4s. So yeah, the abundance should flow to you with ease.
It's good. This has been very helpful.
Do you mind? Okay, so when a person has 4 or more of the same number, Frank Alper channeled direct messages from God to the person that has multiple 4 or more instances of the same number.
Yeah.
Would you be open to me telling you what the word is for the 4?
Yeah, please.
All right. Give me a second.
Good luck.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because my screen share is complete.
Hey.
What we were going to do with that. And I just want you, if you don't mind, sit back and close your eyes while you listen to me.
Okay.
So I'm a female voice, but I'm speaking as God.
All right. Oh, I receive it.
My child, I give you the abundance of the universe. Each star in the heavens pours out its wealth to you in things of spirit, mind, and matter. All is yours to learn the lessons of having and achieving. The vibrations of abundance are creative, and you can create abundance in any area in which you choose. But you must learn to use it, to appreciate it, and to share it with whoever needs it and asks for it. This is tremendous power, my child. Do not abuse it. And that is the word.
Thank you.
I got goosebumps reading that to you.
Yes. That's perfect. Well, it's my greatest desire for that to be For sure.
Part of that comes to you through your writing,
Yeah.
through the downloads, and expressing them out into society,
Yeah.
and healing any broken heart places that you may have.
Yeah. It's my own my own learning has become more subtle of late. Um, the any kind of suffering or fear of rejection or anything like that. It's all still there, but it's very quick if there's any kind of discomfort, and it's all my friend. I see it all as, it's like hello, dark friend. Thank you for coming again. Thank you for your greeting.
Right.
All as service. It's all a service. The whole universe here to serve me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just seeing the subtle ways of removing my own resistance to my own abundance, my own uh, ability to give more, which in turn removes more resistance, which allows more to come. And
Yeah.
it's a self-fulfilling loop. It's a strengthening loop every time, just like the energetic flow of life. It's a spiraling that gets bigger and bigger as it spirals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
So wonderful and beautiful.
And I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Mm,
When I looked at your chart, I was like, oh, this is great.
that's
Except for the whole I'm not worthy part, you as you work through that, it's beautiful to work through that and get to the place where you know that you're loved.
yeah.
That,
Well, even the I'm not worthy is if it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be the learning, right?
yeah,
So
that's right.
would I choose it again? Of course, in hindsight.
Yeah, you may very well.
In hindsight or in future sight, whatever that is, right? And so and the interesting thing for me is the perspective of that future time. What we would think of as future, that perspective of the future time it's available right now, and I can choose it. Um, in a still place, I can choose it, not when I'm ruffled and emotional and fearful and scarce.
Right. And working through all of that to get to that stillness.
Yeah.
I have another teacher who calls that the pause.
Hmm.
When you pause and you get still and you get quiet, that's when true awareness and true abundance starts to flow. Because when you're in turmoil, all you're creating is more turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, wonderful, Tina. Jeez. I'm so glad that I reached out to you. This has been quite a gift. You're,
Yeah,
you
glad
are
you.
quite a gift.
Thank
How,
you.
how do people get a hold of you?
So, I'm not really officially anywhere except for at my massage office. So, I mean, you're welcome. People are welcome to reach out to me through Facebook, whether it be through Messenger, um, or just posting to my wall. If I think that's an option.
Yeah.
Messenger is probably the way to go. But
So
then I also,
your Facebook is Facebook / Tina.Howard 1975, in case
yeah,
anybody wants to know that, because there's a few Tina Howards out there.
I'm sure there are many. I'm sure.
Tina.Howard 1975. And people can text you, right? Easy way.
Yes, text message is a great way to reach out to me. And that phone number is 757-585-5524.
757-585-5524. It's a good
Yes.
number. Now you can work with people remotely like this.
Yes. This is the best way to actually get your soul contract done, because that way you can record it and listen to it later, because this was an abbreviated version, and the
Right.
full version we're talking for 2 to 4 hours. 4 hours is the longest I've gone. And we go really in depth with all of the different numbers and their karmic aspects and their talent aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to make sure that you have enough time on your calendar. And so do I. And I forgot my train of thought. That's funny.
Um,
Yes, online
Online.
is the way to do it, because that way you can record it.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. Well, I hope people find you. Now, as parting thoughts, what would you have? Well, two things. What's the takeaway that you'd like people to remember about soul contracts, divine healing? Like, why would people? Why is it important for them to do a session?
That would be different for different people. For some people, that just finding out about themselves, it kind of presents itself like it's a psychic reading, except that it's not. So for people who are just curious about themselves, their curiosity will be more than satisfied. For people who are trying to understand why they, like me, have kept themselves in unhealthy and destructive patterns, I can help reveal that for them and then give them tools that help to empower them. I mean, somebody else told me that it just helped her really understand who she is and make better and healthier choices. It empowered her, is what she told me. So if you want to be empowered and who you are as an individual, this is a great way to help in that endeavor. It's not the only way. Lots of different ways out there.
Of course. So tell us, as we wrap up here, what would you have people know? Those who are hurting, those who are lost, those who are marginalized or hopeless, or just at the end of their road of what they can do on their own. What do you think? What's your message to them, or even what's God's message? What would God, the infinite creator, have to say to them?
I can't say what God would say, but I can tell you what was life-changing for me. Instead of saying, why does this keep happening to me? Ask yourself, what is the lesson? Because if you apply the lesson, it doesn't keep happening. You don't have to be in victimhood. You don't have to suffer. You have to suffer to grow. That's been my experience. My greatest growth happens through my suffering. But when I apply the lessons of the suffering, then I also have a much more content, peaceful life. So if you're seeking peace, start to look at the lessons.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much again. If you want to get a hold of Tina Howard, you can go once again to her Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Tina.Howard 1975. You can text her 757-585-5524. Soul Contract Reading Practitioner Extraordinaire. Thank you so much for today. This was wonderful. Thank you.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. You're welcome. Thank you.